on individual verticals. And I'll change this back to 2 inches. So this gives you control, oops, 2.5 inches. This gives you control over independent verticals. Like I said, all you got to do is click in here, and you can actually control any one of these verticals. Okay. Now clearance, you can change the spacings based off of DLO or clearance. Okay. So if you click in here, you can actually put in, I'll put in 32 inches. Now at this point, the good thing about this Athena, the way it works, this elevation maker, if you right click, you can actually lock the bag, which is different than locking a vertical, because if I lock the distance in between, this whole bay can move, but the distance in between can't. If I lock this vertical, the vertical itself can't move. So an example would be, if I had this bay here, if the architect specified 2'8" on this bay and 2'8" on this bay, or 30 inches, okay, oops, 32 inches, I could actually lock these, and I would have these two bay distances locked. Then I could right click, oops, then I can right click all equal, and it'll space these three out all equal. Now this is very handy if you're used to, on a large elevation, laying out a line, getting your placements, something in front of a column or what have you, and then dividing your line. Athena does this for you. So now, like I said, anything the architect specifies, a doorway, anything in front of a column, you just click this, lock this bay, and then you just right click in here, and at that point you all equal. Now if you had to add a mullion in here, at that point you could actually add a mullion. So you just right click, add a mullion. Okay, so here's some of the choices. In clearance, with this little thing here, you can actually access the drawing to pull 2 points to get your clearance. Okay. What I'll do is I'll all equal everything again, and as you notice, these two stayed locked, and the rest of the base equaled out accordingly. Okay. Now the next tab is center distances. Same thing as clearance. The only difference is it goes from center line to center line. So you can actually figure from the center of the vertical to the center of the vertical. So that's the three choices. Axis lets you do a running dimension. Clearance allows you to do DLO. And center distance is a center to center. So it gives you three different choices on how you want to configure your vertical mullion. Now the next tab we'll run to would be the transom tab. Now in Athena, transom is any horizontal element, any horizontal tube is a transom. Okay. The first thing we'll do is we'll hit properties once again. Once again, you can configure a different sill transom, a head transom, and a transom. So you can configure your sill, your intermediate horizontals, and your head. And what I'll do is all equal. I'll make this 2.5. Once again, 6 inches. Leave the infill at this. Uncheck structural. I'm not going to do structural sealant. But if you wanted a separate sill that was 6 inches, you could. Okay. And I'm going to go to axis. And normally I would use an axis for my transom because it always goes off the floor. So I'm going to start here and say my first vertical was 24 inches off the floor. What I'll do is I'll lock this in position. Then say I'm going to put a door in here at 84 inches. So I'll put 84 inches and I'll lock this. Now say you had a floor line here at 10 foot. And that was specified. I can lock that. So I can lock these as I go up. Say I had another one at 12 foot. So I can lock this. And I have another one here. This one here would go at, say, 20 foot. Okay. So I can keep going up through here. Now, if I had to add another mullion, once again, you just right-click. Well, you have to actually go to clearance, but you can go to clearance and add another mullion. And once again, you can change the width of any one, the depth, or the infill inset. Okay, so at any time you can change the independent ones. Now I'll go to clearance. And once again, you configure your clearance dimension. Now, if you needed to add a mullion, this is where you would do it. You'd right-click, add a transom, it would actually put that in. Okay. And then same thing with clearance. It works just like the vertical transoms. Okay, now we'll move on to fields. Now fields is, if you'll notice, I already have this window in, so I'll actually remove this. Fields is where you can insert windows and doors. You can combine bays, different elements you can insert within the unit itself. Okay, and I'll start. The first thing I'll do is I'll add a door, and if you select one of the bays, you'll see it'll turn red. Then up here you've got horizontal, you've got vertical. So what I'll do is I'll make it go too wide in the horizontal position. So I'll put in 2, and it's actually covered 2. And I'll do 2 in the vertical position. And that pretty much covers my door opening. Okay. Now if I want to take out the sill, I can actually uncheck the sill and it'll remove the sill for me. And I can actually make the vertical run through if I wanted to, or I don't have to. Now to place a door in there, I would come down to the element button, click element, click my box. If I had a door configured, I'd go to my manager, click get, and I'll do a double door, click OK, and my double door's in. Okay. Now if I wanted to put a window in, say I wanted to put a window in here, I'll click new. And at that point I'll click element, I'll go to get, and I'll grab a window. Click OK, and my window's in. And this gives you all sorts of choices for windows and doors. You can do a tilt and turn. And in the window video, I'll explain how to use the window tool. But for now, we're just going to show you how you put it in with the door, the window and door tool, and the facade elevation. Now, if I needed to combine bays, say I wanted these 3 bays here to combine, I can actually go across and click 3. It'll actually combine these bays. Now if I wanted my verticals to run through once again, I can click this and my verticals will run through my horizontals. Okay, so you can combine bays. You can combine literally any bay you want, horizontally, vertically. If I could just go 2. Very easy to combine these bays. Now the next one, what we'll do is, and if you need to remove one of these elements, you just click on the element, click remove. It'll actually remove that. Okay. If you want to remove a door, you can actually click on here, or a window, and click remove or replace. Okay. Now the next one we'll do is knee wall. Now 2 things you can do with knee wall. You can click a bay, click horizontally. It'll actually add a knee wall, or you can actually remove a large section of your frame. So if I clicked here and I went horizontally 2, say I wanted to go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way up to 6, I can click 6 for vertical. It'll remove that entire section of that frame. Okay, so the only stipulation is you have to start at the first level to actually remove a knee wall. So like I said, if I wanted to horizontal 2, if I wanted to go up 4, I can actually remove that section right there. So you can remove any section just as long as you start at the ground. Now if you had to remove something from the head, if you click head wall, you can actually click into head wall and have that removed. Okay, so I've clicked here. I'll just move over into horizontal 2. It'll actually remove that whole chunk of head wall. So literally between the knee wall and the head wall and the insert, you can pretty much remove just about any part of a drawing. If you had to do a staggered frame, you could. Just about any combination of frame you could do with this. Okay, we'll move on to settings, and here this controls how your drawing is going to look. Calculation, once again, is how you're going to do a clearance or axis dimension. Your form, this is what you want to show up. Your center lines, which is axis. Profiles, which is your profiles. Your glass for infill. Raw shell for rough opening. If you're doing an SSU, it would be hidden profiles. Horizontal section and vertical section. Now, if you click the layer button, you can actually control which layer these different properties assign to automatically. Now, we'll go down into the dimension. If you want a dimension, Athena by default picks up the dimension style that you have set in your dimension styles. And once again, you can click whether you want the center line, profile width, clearance, rough opening, frame dimension, and center to center. And you can actually add a suffix and raw shell. And we'll do C to C. Okay, now if the text height that you have in your dimension style is not big enough, you can actually put a text height in here, and I'll do 1/4 inch, and it'll actually raise your text height here. Now labeling, this determines how you want your infill to be labeled. And if you click this, you can go into symbol frame, and you can pick a different symbol in a frame. You can have the dimensions thrown inside the frame, and you can actually format your text. And when you're done, just make sure you go to administration and click as default, and it'll always come in that way. Section cut, if you want Athena to display a section cut, it will. Mullion splice joint, if you want to display a splice joint, you can. Okay, so this is your different labeling. And then once again, if you go to administration, you can actually save this. If you want to come back and get it, it'll be in your library, and you can actually export these out to your server, to your main library. Okay, and that's pretty much all there is for the Athena elevation maker. In the next video, we'll get into applying parts to this frame right from the Athena 3D parts dialog. Thank you, and have a good day.